What's up, everybody? All zero of you watching right now live. We are back once again for Talking Paranormal. I'm super excited about this show tonight because we are talking about dragons. See, with with dragons for me, like I said before on the show, anything's possible. So with an open mind, I love hearing theories. Now, I don't know anything about these dragon theories, really, aside from the little research that I've done so far, and knowing that we were going to get into this show. In past episodes, we get a little carried away in the beginning when a large portion of the show is video reviews. So, Matt, I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't 100% believe that dragons still exist to this day. However, I have read some things that made me go, Now I can't sit here and say whether or not they existed for real. But much like ancient structures, there are accounts of dragons all over the world and all over different continents. From what I understand, history says that dragon-like creatures have been fought all over the world in history. So, with that, what do you think, Matt? How deep are you in dragons? When did you start?
All right, man. So here's the deal. I agree with you. I don't think they're still alive.
Sure.
My popular running theory that I like is they were the last remnants of dinosaurs.
Okay.
Would explain a lot, in all honesty. But it would. But I mean, at the same time, man, there's something special about them because, like, in Asian cultures, they're more worshipped than they were feared. They were seen as guardians and good omens and stuff like that. Now you go to the European version of dragons, they were feared, fought.
Yeah.
It was a state of honor to slay one. They liked kidnapping princesses. I think that part was just embellished. But I mean, it's a good fun to
Sure.
hypothesize about. I think there was a dragon-like creature. I believe. I mean, they just discovered a pterodactyl species that's its wingspan was 40 feet.
Okay, I didn't hear about that. Why don't you tell us about that a little bit real quick?
It was discovered in Canada, and its wingspan was literally 40 feet from tip to tip.
Wow.
I mean, that's huge. That's massive. Imagine if that was still flying around and some dipshit's riding by on his horse and that thing goes cruising over.
So it's funny that you talk about a creature that big that has, essentially been proven to have existed because in Native American cultures, you hear about the thunderbirds, giant birds.
Now, those were real birds.
Yes, they were. So when I hear about these things, I have no choice but to go, okay, if a pterodactyl with a 40-foot wingspan, because when I think about dragons, I go, how is a giant lizard going to get up into the sky? Well, I started doing a little research, and we'll get more into this later after we review some videos. But it was super intriguing when they explained, bone structure and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
That was super intriguing for me. I was like, yeah, I guess I never thought about that. So we'll get into that in a little bit. We've got some good videos tonight. Matt, these are a lot that you have sent me that we just haven't played yet. So there was a couple there was a couple, unfortunately, that had been pulled down, so I couldn't get those. But I picked some ones. And let me tell you something. Do you know how hard it is to find videos on dragons? It's kind of funny, actually. The research I was doing, there was some pretty good ones. But
it's tough because, I mean, obviously right now the runaway theory is that T-Rexes were dragons, and I love it because I love T-Rexes. They're my favorite dinosaur. I think they're the most popular dinosaur on the planet.
Oh yeah, hands down.
I'd say largely in part thanks to Jurassic Park, but I mean at the same time, what a lot of people don't that don't pay attention to paleontology don't notice or realize is the T Rex has been redesigned about at minimum 10 different times since its discovery.
Yeah. A lot of the paleontology stuff, it's a lot of guesswork, you know.
Oh yeah.
um Super interesting how much guesswork is involved. Um but let's get into some videos.
All right, let's do that first.
I'm excited to talk about dragons. I want to hear what you know. So we've got everything in the queue tonight. We have some ghost stuff, some mysterious disappearance stuff. We've got some Bigfoot stuff, and I did happen to come across a couple decent dragon videos. Matt, you sent me one, and then we've got some shark stuff that's very interesting and compelling. So I'm going to play this shark video.
I want to preface this so that
Okay.
everybody knows I shotgun blast Chris videos like throughout the week, so I never even know what he's gonna pick. But I shotgun blast the bejesus out of the guy. So I don't even remember what I sent. So we'll see. It'll be fun.
Real quick, hi to everybody in the chat. Thank you all for watching right now live. Universal Inquirer, how are you doing? And then we got Dutch Guy's Garage in here. How you doing, buddy? Let's read Dutch Guy's little theories really quick before we get into the videos. So Dutch Guy's Garage says, my thoughts. The dodo was a strange bird, and our understanding of its demise and extinction by 1662 is equally strange. The dodo was a flightless bird that lived on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. It was easy to catch and provided meat to sailors. There were numerous written accounts, sketches, and descriptions of the bird from the 1500s through the 1600s. But when the dodo went extinct, no one seemed to notice. And a few years later, scientists began to promote the idea that the dodo was merely a myth. Just look at the evidence. It was very strange. Yeah, you know, there's so many accounts of different creatures. I mean, even to this day, they talk about seeing dinosaurs in the Congo, which we will be talking about on a future episode because I'm super intrigued by the idea of dinosaurs still existing, much like the pterodactyl sightings of pterodactyls and stuff. Super intriguing. But Dutch guys, you make a great point, and that's that there's so many accounts of creatures that existed, and yet there's no scientific proof.
Well, also you gotta be careful. I'm not saying. Oh my god, I just realized about how I came off. I'm not saying don't trust the science, but you also have to keep in mind scientists are professional guessers.
For sure.
Like they come up with this idea, and then as a guess, and then they have to test it. So I mean, they're just professional guessers, and then they test their theory. Is what their job is, and so I mean, like, did you know Dolph Lundgren has more degrees than Bill Nye the Science Guy and has a higher IQ?
Well, I don't like Bill Nye, so I'm actually happy to hear that news.
Irregardless of personal like or dislike, like the guy that everyone tuned into as a kid for Bill Nye the Science Guy has 1 degree. Dolph Lundgren has a plethora of degrees, is highly educated, is legally registered as a genius with over 100 IQ.
Wow.
Like he has an insanely high IQ.
All right, so Drago is smarter than Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Facts. Verified facts.
That's hilarious. Very cool. Yeah, Bill Nye, that guy. My biggest problems come from his adamant debating against the existence of UFOs and stuff. He was on a couple shows. I think he was on Larry King, one of Larry King's shows, like his old talk show. And he was debating, Bill Nye was debating ex-military guys that were like, you know, disclosing what they saw while they were in the military. And Bill Nye was like shooting him down. And I'm like, wow, you disrespectful son of a...
Yeah, Bill Nye's annoyed me. Bill Nye's garbage.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of him. But anyways, let's get into these videos, dude. I'm really excited about this one because I didn't even think about something like this. Check this out. This has to do with sharks.
Something is happening with the sharks in our oceans. Ironbound did not ping for 2 months and then ended up in Europe. And this amazing commenter asked an amazing question that made me look even more into this. Here are all the pings that have ever existed in this area. Ironbound is the only shark up here. But if you zoom in just a little bit, you'll see these two sharks. You can see them right there. Machaca is one of the sharks, and their last ping was in 2017, but let's zoom in. They were pinged right here, and on the same day ended all the way over here. Not just the same day, less than an hour later. And the second shark, 2014, is Resilient. It took Resilient 2 months to get from there to there with no pings, when all of this are nothing but pings. I know that it's easy to say that this is probably a glitch or a satellite error, but what if it's something else? What if?
So first of all, I'd like to point out the creator of that video. His tag on TikTok is Sharky Shark Wahlberg. I think that's funny. Sharky Shark.
That guy's videos crack me up. But I mean, he brings up a valid point. Like, that is some territory to cover.
Yeah.
And great whites are not power swimmers. Like, they do for an attack, but for the most part, they're in cruising mode. Unless they're going to eat something, they're in a cruise. Like, they're just chilling.
So what do you think's going on?
Man, like, so there's something eating them. They don't know what, but like, they've had, like, Shark Week even dedicated one of their specials to try and figure out what happened to one of the sharks. They tagged it, and then it suddenly, like, everything was fine, and then it suddenly deep dived down into like an underwater canyon, and the water temperature dropped, but then all of a sudden it warmed up. But the shark was never seen again. So they're saying it was eaten. Something took a bite out of it and got the transmitter, and that's where the warmth came from, was the internal.
Whoa. Going back to the mysterious deep and possible sea monsters or a megalodon.
So in one of his other videos, he brings up a great point. Does he think megalodons are still out there? He does not. But we have to keep in mind that there are great whites growing to the size of what would be a smaller megalodon.
Wow. Gosh. Real life Jaws, dude. That is crazy.
Deep Blue. When she was discovered 10 years ago, she was 20 foot long, and she's still growing.
Wow. Do they have an estimate of how old she is?
They said about 50 years old.
Wow. How long do great whites live? I'm not a shark guy. I don't know.
They don't know. Like, they don't even know where they breed.
Wow,
they don't even know where they go to give birth. Yeah, they're a very mysterious shark still. Given how much they dedicate to Shark Week being about great whites, they know very little about them. They know where they hang out 90% of the time. They don't know where their breeding ground is, and they've never even caught great whites breeding on camera.
They'll be speaking of animals breeding on camera. I saw this video the other day. This guy's driving through this like $1 million neighborhood, and the camera pans over, and there's these two bears just getting it on right on somebody's like front walkway. It was the most outlandish, no F's given video I've ever seen from wildlife. Anyways, the Greenland shark, from what I understand, lives up to like 400 or 500 years old or something like that. So
yes,
I don't know. I mean, it's crazy to me to think that not that much is known about great whites or how old they can be. A 50-year-old great white that is still growing. That is insane.
Great whites are one of the few species that keep growing as they age. It slows down the older they get, but they still do keep growing.
Wow, a baby megalodon, dude. That's crazy.
Right?
As a kid, I loved horror movies as a kid. Now, I used to watch them behind my parents' back because they would never let me watch that kind of stuff if they knew about it. But I loved Jaws, and it always scared the hell out of me. In fact, my dad must have known that I watched Jaws because when I was a small child, he would stand behind the bathroom door, and when it was super dark, knowing that I was going back there, and he would go dun 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 from behind the door, and it used to scare the hell out of me. I used to tell my mom, get over here, walk me to the bathroom because Dad's trying to scare me. And I need to talk to my dad about that because he kind of traumatized me with Jaws. But it ended up being one of my favorite you know, I don't like to call it a horror movie, but I guess it is a horror movie. But Jaws was always fun to watch.
So there's a outdoor movie theater in Texas,
Sci-fi.
with a pond, and once a year over summer, they play Jaws, and everybody sits out in that pond in inner tubes and watches Jaws.
Really?
Yeah, in the dark. I'm out.
That sounds like a lot of fun, especially if some jerk is underneath the water, like grabbing people's legs and stuff.
I just out there with a whole scuba kit, just cruising along. But no, like the animatronic shark for Jaws was so ahead of its time that they are still basing new movie animatronics off of it.
It was so. I mean, when it comes to movies and outlandish creatures, you know, you had Jurassic Park, and back in what, 93 or 94 when it came out, it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But still, even that movie, I still would go back to Jaws and go, that seemed like the most realistic thing ever. And I'm sad. I don't think, does the Jaws ride even still exist?
Yeah.
Does
it's
it? Okay,
extremely ran down, but yeah.
It's all squeaking when it comes out of the water, all rusty. Dutch Guy says there's an Atlantean theory that great whites were genetically purpose-bred. I've never heard of that.
I haven't heard that one either. I have heard that they are the species that caused the megalodon to go extinct.
Wow. Were they rolling packs or what? I thought they're pretty solitary creatures, right? Great whites.
No, they'll gather in groups. They're not like like they even have like a social pecking order when you watch them in groups. It's pretty wild, man. You got just watch Shark Week. It's great.
You know,
kicks off tomorrow.
Does it?
Yeah, tomorrow's Shark Week. Starts Shark Week.
Well, thank you for letting me know, because as a fan of Jaws growing up, I'm so surprised that I haven't gotten into Shark Week. I'm gonna have to, though. It does piss me off that you told me that the Megalodon mockumentary was during Shark Week, right?
It was. That was during the mockumentary craze.
Man, those jerks.
But man, but see, like when I was a kid, Shark Week was just a bunch of dudes in a cage, and that's all they filmed. But now it's gone into they're actually like doing they're showing the science of it. They're trying to because they realized what they did is they perpetuated the fear of sharks versus trying to be like, hey, a shark isn't really trying to bother you. Yeah. Unless you bother them. But people have to understand they're going. I know we're talking dragons, but like people have to understand they're literally going in the shark's house, and they're shocked when the shark's like,
yeah,
bites them. You know what I mean?
You know, we're gonna have to do an episode on sharks and get into some of the legends surrounding them, because that's interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Dutch Guy says he wrote every major paper in high school and college on different Atlantean theories. Talk about it. Wow. Yeah, maybe we'll get into Atlantean theories.
I'm down.
Dutch might have to join us on the show for that one. Universal Inquirer, Super Anaconda versus Super Boa Sci-Fi. There is some, you know what I discovered on YouTube? Before we get into this next video, I've discovered fan videos. I didn't realize that people were like remaking taking horror movies, like the one I watched. It was absolutely ridiculous and unrealistic, but it was hilarious. And it was Jason from Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees, versus Sasquatch. It was actually, for a short film, it was 30 minutes long. The Sasquatch was dookie, but Jason looked like Jason. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Super cheesy, B-rated stuff, but still fun to watch nonetheless. Let's get in this next video. This is a ghost video. I thought this was kind of interesting, a little spooky. I love the ones where it's like my soul left at the end. So let's check this one out. I'll give it to the TikTok guys. They really know how to create creepy short short form video.
Creepy kids suck, man. Creepy kids suck.
We need to do a show on the black-eyed children, dude. That is some creepy stuff right there, dude.
Yeah.
creepy stuff. But this video, it's interesting because it's black and white, and it's a guy opening the door to this room, and when he opens it, standing in the room at the other end is what appears to be a child-sized person under a blanket or something.
That's what it looks like. I'm sorry, everybody. I do have a tickle in my throat.
My God.
I apologize. I'm trying to keep it down, but no, that's what it looks like. I mean, man, this is one of those ones where literally, because he never really pans the camera up or down or anything.
Yeah.
So like, it could easily be somebody's behind the door, pushes it shut. This one, I sent it to you. It creeps me the hell out because creepy kids suck.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm calling it a really good fake.
I would call it a really good fake. It's tough because when he opens the door, shuts it, or he opens the door, sees the child, shuts the door, then opens it again, and it's gone. There could easily, if he stopped himself, he could easily have edited it to be smooth and transition good.
Yeah.
And then he turns around, looks out the window, and then you see the reflection of a child's face. Super creepy. Even if it's fake, it's creepy.
Oh yeah, no, it's super creepy, but
like,
I'm just calling it a good fake.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. That's the thing with some of these videos. The ones that are done good enough where you're like, oh, that could be real. It's still like I get creeped out at horror movies and I know they're fake. You know what I mean? I watched Paranormal Activity when it first came out, and it creeped me out, even though I knew it was all fake. Just the idea of the possibility of that kind of stuff happening creeps me out.
I was one of the dumbasses that thought it was real.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Found footage, man. It can fool you if you don't understand. Like the Blair Witch Project, for a long time, people thought it was real. You know what I mean? The found footage can fool you.
Do you know what really helped drive that being real?
No.
Man, see, movie stuff is my jam.
Okay.
They literally had them camping in the woods. Okay?
Oh, for real?
For real. They had them for real out there. And what they were doing, they were giving them snippets of script at every campsite in the cooler. So literally, the other cast members did not know that person's cues. They only knew their lines.
That's a hell of a way to make a movie and make it more realistic with realistic emotions.
Exactly. Like the reactions were very real. Like in Alien, the first Alien, when the first chest popper came out.
Yeah.
Everybody knew in the script, creature appears. What they didn't tell them was it was going to bust out of that dude. So nobody on the cast, only the stunt team, the guy that was busting out of, and the director knew what was about to happen.
Whoa.
On set that day. So all the other actors, when that thing ruptured out and they all like freaked out, that was real.
That's crazy. Could you guys imagine if Matt was just making all this up off the top of his head and we're all sitting there like, really? And he's like, yeah, it's real.
Yeah, man. No,
that's cool, man.
Man, that would suck so bad if somebody's like, well, you're wrong.
They
cool.
call you
out. I saw it somewhere. I mean, I'll admit I could be wrong on some of it, but I believe I'm factual.
Hey, if you've gone through, if you're that into it, I believe you. It would be funny if this show got big enough where people started debunking our stories. Like, they're full of shit.
I dare them to come at me about my ghost stories. I dare them.
I am actually, because I do firmly believe that it is like following your family. I'm scared to go anywhere haunted with you because I'm like, gosh, people can drum up. Like, you could go to a completely like we could go to, I know that there's certain investigation teams that do like events where you can go and ghost hunt with them.
Yeah.
It scares, the thought of taking you scares me because I'm like, this guy's like a magnet for it. Something's going to happen, which is cool because I want to see something so that I can prove to myself, all right, this is some real shit.
Okay, so if we ever do go to one of those, stick with me. Guaranteed something's going to happen.
Game on, dude. I'm going to find us an event, and we're going to do some fun stuff. That'll be a blast. I talk about wanting to see it, but once I see it and I know it's real, then I'm like, okay, this shit exists. Like,
he's gonna be like, what'd we do? Why did we do it? Man, like, yeah, you're not wrong. I'm a magnet, and it sucks.
We'll see. I'm going to look into some events because I want to expand the show a little bit. I'm going to talk to some event people and see if they'll allow us to live stream a little bit from the event, things like that. I do want to go Bigfoot hunting. That's one thing I want to do. But it's got to be under the right circumstances. It's got to be with an organization I trust, because I don't want no fakery BS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather have nothing happen at all. If I go hunting ghosts, if nothing happens, I'm like, all right, cool. They didn't fake anything. But let's get into this next video. So this is a disappearance video, which I thought was interesting. Let's check it out. For those of you that are hearing this in audio form via podcast, this show is available on Spotify as well as YouTube and Facebook, where you can get the video portion of the show as well. I upload Talking Paranormal to Spotify with video, so that you can not only listen to the show, but you can actually see what we're talking about and watch the videos that we're watching. So for those of you listening on a podcast, I highly suggest checking out the video portion of the show. All right, on to this video.
And breaking news out of Montana, as this 4-year-old boy was found safe after being in the wilderness for more than 2 days. However, but there's just a small problem. This is the picture of the child that they were looking for. And this is a kid that they found. And if we do a side-by-side comparison, there are some differences. They're now saying that child is not the same child who went missing. And there are 1,600 different people who still are missing in the wild. So the question is, would you allow him back in your home?
Nope. Sure wouldn't.
So guys that do videos like that are trying to drum up drama.
Sure.
Now the thing is, how old is the photo that they were doing the side by side to? Because we all know kids go, especially you and I, we know this. These little guys, they go through a plump up phase and then they grow. Yeah. Plump up phase and then they grow.
Yeah.
So was that photo from a plump up phase and he grew and he thinned out a little bit? I don't know a kid that would spend 2 days in the woods and not come out looking like they've seen some shit.
Yeah. Looking a little haggard, eyes sunk back a little bit, look like they went on a bender.
Yeah.
like they tried meth or something.
4 years old, spent 2 days in the woods alone. That kid's going to look like he's seen some shit and been through it.
The thing that as funny as this video is with this idiot with the mask and the hat, I have to look past it and just go, let's look at the base facts of the video. 1,600 children go missing. You know what I mean? There are missing people in the wilderness, and the national parks will not acknowledge it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's people that go missing, and you hear crazy stories. I heard a story about a guy who was walking down a trail, and in front of him, the trailhead or the trail in front of him looked like it was like water, like he was looking through water. And from the story, he says he stuck his foot in and his foot disappeared. He pulled it out, turned around, and ran the hell away. Now, we hear these stories about these people just vanishing without trace, and we hear stories about children that end up missing, that end up found, in higher elevations, not dirty at all. We have cases where children say they were only alive because they were helped by a bear man or a dog man. So it was like, okay, is that Bigfoot or what? And you hear other crazy stories about missing people that end up returned, or people that they never find the body. They just find, articles of clothing. And in some cases, the clothing is actually folded really neatly, but they've disappeared. So missing people and these mysterious disappearances, I'm super intrigued by the idea. What's going on in the wilderness? We were just talking last week about, the mysterious deep, but then you got the wilderness, dude. Scary shit.
So the amount of people missing in the woods, if you overlay it with the cave system in the United States, very similar map layout.
That's interesting. Yeah, caves. There's just so much that we don't know about this planet.
I'm a huge fan of Hollow Earth theories.
We're definitely going to do a Hollow Earth show because there's so many different, you know, people speculate on all sorts of things. I do believe that there's definitely something below the surface. Caves. You hear stories about people seeing creatures that, you know, disappear in the wilderness too, and
Yeah.
there's just so much involved when it comes to these areas of the world that are not thoroughly explored. And then you talk about like government owned land, and you wonder like, you know, what's really going on in there when they have the protected forest. It's like, you know, very, very, very interesting. So, you know, you never know. So let's get into this next video. My sister actually sent me this video too. You did, and my sister did, and I thought it was funny
snap.
because I was like, okay, and it's I find it cheesy and intriguing too, because you could easily be like, oh, somebody's messing around. But what if somebody is not messing around? That is a question I ask all the time with videos that are questionable. I'm like, okay, they could have faked this, but what if they didn't? This is one of those videos. Listen closely.
Let me in.
A little creepy.
Yeah.
So, for those of you just listening, it's a ring cam, I'm assuming, that is facing out into a backyard, and you hear a voice saying, "Let me in." And there you can see a shadow on the side of the stairs, which I thought was a little interesting. And then you can see them like panning the camera around into their backyard, and there's like a shed or some sort of playhouse or something in the back, and you see this shadow figure. Easily fakeable. But
Yeah.
you have to ask yourself, if it wasn't fake and this was legitimate footage, that is some creepy shit. That's so creepy.
I mean, even if it's not legitimate footage, they did a great job of being creepy about it.
No, 100%. And that's the thing. You know, we see these videos like that, and we're like, oh yeah, you know, we could easily sit here and say, oh, BS. You know, that never happened. Then you think about some of the stories you hear about crazier stuff than that has happened.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you know, I mean, your stories, Matt, they're crazy. They are creepy as hell. They're crazier than that video, I'll tell you that.
Oh, man.
I couldn't imagine. What if the things you saw actually said something to you? That is,
who knows? If they actually would have said something to me, man, I think it'd been worse. I think it'd been worse than them just being silent there.
You say, "What do you want?" And the thing's like, "Your soul." It's like, whoa.
goes full Mortal Kombat. Your soul is mine. I'd be like, fuck.
Or it could be like, what do you want? It's like, I'm just trying to find the Jack in the Box. I don't know.
Like, oh, hey, we don't have those over here, so.
The GPS in my car took me down the wrong street, so I needed to find a phone.
Turn left at the Del Taco.
Turn left into Matt's room and scare the piss out of him.
True story. Universal Inquirer. Yes, I do believe nature itself is starting to wake up more.
Man, you know,
I've brought that up a few times.
You wonder, with us ruining the earth, When does the Earth go? All right, enough of this shit.
I mean, the planet is alive. The fact that nobody like looks at the planet as an actual living thing is insane to me.
Yeah, it's M. Night Shyamalan did that movie, like, what was it, The Happening or something
The
like
happening.
that?
Oh my god, that got brought up this week, and I was not mentally prepared to handle it because like several of us on my team at work have a cough right now,
Yeah.
and someone goes, "What if it's the happening?" And I'm like, "Nope, don't you even bring it up. Don't you even bring it up."
Man, that's why I'm glad I don't work in an office, dude. So once someone gets something, it's like, all right, we're all gonna get it. You know it.
Man, I have not had this much cold or just like general cough or anything like that like I've had lately in my entire life. My wife is like, "You are starting a vitamin regimen and all this, that, and the other." She's like, "Because you're used to working away, like with people, but up and moving and outside and everything." She goes, "You've never been just cooped up indoors for most of your work week."
Yeah, my conspiracy theory, because I have been supplementing with vitamins for, we'll say, 15 years, like a regimen every day,
Yeah.
vitamin B, C, D, all that stuff. And COVID happened, and when it opened up enough for my daughter to finally go to daycare, she when you're sequestered, the first 2 years of your life, and then you go to daycare, it's like, all right, germs. And she kept getting sick, and I kept getting sick. My wife kept getting sick, and I was like, our immune systems are shot because we've been wearing a mask. We haven't been exposed. And I've been sick more in the past 2 or 3 years than I have in my entire life, especially within the past year. It is ridiculous.
So
And I used to never get sick.
so it's not so much that we were like insanely healthy people, because I never got sick either.
Mm.
It's just we didn't live with a tiny human that had no problem sneezing in your face.
Yeah. Yeah, my daughter will definitely do that. She'll spit in my, not spit, but like she'll cough
Yeah.
in my face, sneeze, and like we're trying to teach her to cover her mouth and stuff. So it's like she'll cough in her face and be like, cover your mouth. So she'll just cover her mouth. It's like, no, before you cough. But let's get into some other videos that conspiracies about people getting sick. Cause like, man, people are getting, I guess there's a flu going around. My wife and I had it. It was awful. It was worse than COVID when I had COVID for 3 days, and I'm not vaccinated or anything, and I was fine. But we just recently got over this type A flu where it doesn't affect your like digestive system or anything like that. So you're not puking and all the other fun stuff. It was just the sorest throat I've ever had in my life. It was ridiculous, but who knows? Um, Universal Inquirer, Earth, Heart, she's angry, Return of the Dark, Earth, Heart. No, yeah, 100%. If I was Earth, I'd be pissed too. You know what I mean? Let's get into this next video. So this is actually a Bigfoot video, and I've heard, being in Washington State, eruption of Mount St. Helens, and I've heard stories about the military finding Bigfoot out there, injured and taking Bigfoot away in helicopters, black helicopters, So this video, I wouldn't put it past this video being true. So let's check this one out. Seven seconds long. So basically there was a fire and Bigfoot was taken away. Once again, I didn't see, let me play it one more time. I want to get the information down. In what, 1999? Is that what it said?
Yeah.
A Bigfoot was found injured and medically transported to an unknown location. So it's not the first time I've heard anything like this. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if you were like going back to the St. Helens stuff.
Well, legend has it with St. Helen, they found a deceased one.
Yeah.
Ran it and swooped in and took it off.
Yeah, something like that. And you'd think, Bigfoot obviously, lives in mountainous areas and heavily wooded areas. Mount St. Helens, it's a mountain.
Yeah.
And, even Bigfoot can't get away from a volcano. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't surprise me. Gosh, that's, I've heard stories from people that were in the military during that time. They never heard anything like that. But I have to say, it's all compartmentalized. You think they're gonna, send Tom, Dick, and Harry in there? Hey, we got a Bigfoot. Go get it, and don't tell anybody.
You think there's gonna be like a memo that goes out? No.
Yeah, I was recently listening to a podcast, and it was from a guy, not Bob Lazar, but it was another guy who apparently was a military officer, and he did work in the Area 51 and some other military bases, and he was also employed by, I believe, Bigelow Aerospace, and spent time on Skinwalker Ranch. It was a super compelling
Snap.
interview, and he did that thing though that I hate, and he's like, well, I can't really talk about that. It's like, come on, man. Wet my beak a little bit. He's talking about all this like, somebody asked a question about do we have technology that's like alien tech, and he couldn't say. But what he had asked when he was in the military, he asked like a higher ranking officer, what do you think about our technology that we have, like from aliens and stuff? And all the guy said was, I'm confident that the United States of America will not lose an air battle in the next 1,000 years. So what does that tell you that the U.S. government possibly has and is possibly testing? So as an American, I'm pretty confident. I'm not worried about any other countries. Hopefully, you know what I mean? I think we got some stuff, and it's just hidden.
Man, I see. Everybody's never mind. I don't want to get into that one.
All right, we'll go into the next video. I believe this one is a Bigfoot video as well.
Right here's a perfect shot of him. Right there's a perfect shot of him. See him? I don't know if I'm recording. What the is it? It's Bigfoot. Oh, I got it. You see him move? Yeah, if it's recording, I got it. I knew that was nothing I ain't never heard before. I ain't never heard that before either. Watch, will be moving the kids and everything. Did you get them moving? I think so. Now, when I come out, see him? I got it going. I can see him right here. Alright, yeah, but I'm trying to back up. Really? Now, can you see him? Look, now. I am. Oh, he's like peeking around the tree at me. Tell your mama fuck those things. You need to go, There he is. Oh, I got a perfect fucking shot. You moved, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, my definition of a perfect shot and their definition of a perfect shot are two completely different things. That was far from a perfect shot. Pretty decent, but
keep in mind that's probably some of the best footage. I mean, because it's from the 90s, like early 90s, right?
1993 in Red River, in Louisiana.
So, like, that was some fantastic footage considering everything else looks like it was shot on potatoes.
It's not bad, but there was definitely not a clear shot. I mean, as clear as they could get. It apparently they were on the river, so they're floating, and they see this creature. And like I've said before, I think the story tells a lot. When you're trying to see if a video is fake. It's funny because she's like, I think I got it. I think I got it on camera. Could it have been a guy in a suit? maybe, possibly, but you did hear them mention a sound, that was strange, which they didn't get on camera. So it tells me they heard a sound, saw the thing, got the camera out, started recording. And this is in 93. I don't know if you remember in 93, but I remember being 8 years old and my dad having a camcorder that was like on his shoulder. You know what I mean? So it's definitely interesting footage.
I believe that's real.
Yeah. I have no reason to believe that it's not. Now, was it a Bigfoot that they filmed? I don't know. I wish that they were recording so that we could have heard the sound.
Right.
But if it was fake, I imagine that they would have faked the sound. You know what I mean? So it's like the story that's presented in this short video is pretty good. And it is a large, dark figure in the woods.
I mean, the physical outline of it fits like every single description you hear of people
Very
that have
thick.
actually seen it.
Yeah, very
Thick,
wide.
no
Yeah.
neck, head
Yeah.
just looks like it's sitting there on top of the shoulders.
Mhm.
I mean, man, I'm calling that one real.
Yeah.
Some people probably try to say they're too calm in the video, but people that live in that live down the bayou, and they've lived on the river their whole life, they're very confident in their safety if they're on the water.
Yeah. Yeah. Between that and probably hearing legends of this thing, they finally see it. And they weren't exactly 100% calm.
No,
I mean, you could kind of see they were kind of quiet. You know what I mean? They weren't yelling at her or anything. Like, did you get it? Did you get it? So there's some things in the video where I believe that this is authentic. And it's a great video. It really is. Like any Bigfoot video, I'm going to sit here and say, God, I wish it was clear footage, but
that's clearer than a lot of footage we get.
And how much better would it be on an iPhone? Maybe a little bit better, but I've seen some iPhone footage where I was like, okay, unless you're right on top of the thing, you're not going to get all the details that you want to get. That's what's so tough about these Bigfoot videos, because a lot of people catch these things from a distance because, hey, Bigfoot clearly doesn't want to be seen by humans.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's by accident, and usually they're retreating, But I think we should get into, I think this is, okay, yeah, we're into the dragon footage now. I did find a couple things.
Okay.
One of them, and for those of you that are watching this at a later date, not watching it live, we have been having issues with some of the music that's been playing in these clips, and we're getting silenced. So the footage on these clips will be silenced sometimes if there's any copyright infringing music. So if you're watching or listening and it goes silent, then that's why. We never clip audio. It just gets removed automatically. So that's why we're having. I know that when I've listened back to a couple of the shows, I've been like, where's the audio? But then I remember getting the copyright violation, having to go in and go, okay, yeah, mute that. That's fine. Just mute it. So those of you that are dealing with that, just know that every Saturday night, Matt and I will go live. We try to aim for 7 p.m. Pacific, but today, that's my fault. I was a little bit late today. Bad with timing, but we're here. So let's get into this next video. I believe this is the cave video of a crazy creature. Now, I've never heard of a cave worm, but I don't believe this is a dragon, but it is definitely a strange creature that I've never seen, and I didn't know they existed. So let's check this out.
Cave worm or dragon?
Okay, Owen. Oh, okay. Run.
I don't even know what to think about that.
Okay, so I think the automatic speech turned Wirram into worm.
Okay.
So
is that a real
CGI'd.
creature?
No,
It looks fake. Okay.
it definitely looks CGI, but no, Wirrams are real. That's like they're kind of like a ground dragon, kind of, sorta, kind of like more. They are kind of like a serpent-ish creature,
but they don't look like that.
I mean, do they look like they're made on somebody's computer and tossed in a video? No, they don't.
I was like, what the hell is that? It looked a little more convincing on my phone. Um,
Yes, I've seen it before, even on my phone, and it looks convincing. But no, even I'm like,
yeah.
man,
It's
that
funny.
looks.
Some of these videos, you enlarge them and you're like, oh shit.
That's fine. That's the fun of it. Like I love getting to say something's fake. That way
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like I'm so blindly be like it's real.
Yeah, no, absolutely 100%. This next clip is from a guest on the Joe Rogan show. I'm sure we're going to get copyright strike for this one, but we're going to play it anyway because he presents Joe Rogan with the theory of dragons. Check this out.
You like these kind of far out there ideas. How do you like this idea? There's a group of people that say that dragons were real, and I'll explain. Around the same time period in, China, South America, Africa, all these different Rome, all these places depicted people fighting dragons, right? And every dragon was slightly different, but it was all a giant scaly animal that could fly. The group that says this, they're saying the evidence is the reason there's no fossils of dragons is because they had bird bones and hollowish bones. They break down very easily and they don't fossilize. If there were lizards big enough to fly around and eat people, they didn't have bones that could fossilize. A small population of these giant flying lizards existed and encompassed all these different countries where they all depicted fighting dragons in their own way, and they were all killed off by, knights or whatever it is, and then didn't fossilize.
That was the theory that got me going, okay, I see. That explains like my question of a giant lizard serpent in the sky flying,
Right.
put aside the fire breathing stuff. And I was like, wow, hollow bones. I never thought about that. That's interesting. I never even knew that was a thing with birds.
Oh yeah, no, they're hollow, but they have a bunch of little interconnecting rods throughout them, and that's what gives them their strength to stand up to like wind and stuff like that.
Totally
The
interesting.
birds aloft. Like peregrine falcons, they have hollow bones, but they can reach speeds of 200 miles an hour.
200 miles an hour?
I think I think so. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. Look that up, please, because I'm like, hold on, a bird?
It's in a dive. They get up high and they dive, and they don't kill their prey with their
Oh.
talons or anything. It's literally they kill them with concussive force.
The things you learn on Talking Paranormal, folks. Matt teaches me something new every week. It's hilarious. But yeah, like he said in the video.
I was wrong.
Okay, Matt was wrong. What 200 miles an hour?
240.
240 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That's the maximum speed that's been recorded for a peregrine falcon in a dive is 240 miles per hour. They are the fastest creature on the planet.
Wow, I had no idea. That is terrifying.
Oh yeah, like in Australia, I think it's magpies. They're a large black and white bird. During nesting season, they get real territorial. So if people be riding their bikes or walking their pets, they'll get dive bombed by these things. So like they have to be on like magpie watch out.
That's crazy. Oh, all right. This next video, I believe, is a compilation of supposed dragons. I see that I'm having a little bit of lag issues. Matt, are you noticing this, or is it just on my end?
Your video is lagging, but your audio is not.
Okay. All right. I apologize for those of you watching. I don't know what's going on. I seem to have a good connection. Anyways, let's watch this compilation video of supposed dragons. Okay.
Wow, those hurt.
So that thing in the cave in the water was interesting. Obviously, to me, I'm not thinking this thing was a flying creature that had fire that was breathing fire. But it
Well, I
was
mean,
interesting the way it was moving.
there's all different kinds of dragons. Or there
Sure.
were aquatic, land, air. I fully believe there's just different types. That one, it almost looks more like some kind of amphibian to me.
Yeah. I don't know. It is interesting how it moves because it's long and it kind of has a slithering motion through the water, and it actually has little arms
Yeah.
that seem to brace itself as it swims, which I thought was pretty crazy.
Second and third were painfully fake.
They were painfully fake. I pretty much I was debating whether or not to show this one because I was like, that first one is interesting. The two in the middle flying were complete BS. One of them was clearly
You mean the wing motion of doing this?
yeah. Now the thing in the little creature in the guy's hand, I wish there was clearer video because I was like, that is somewhat intriguing.
There's a bird that looks like a little dragon.
Really?
Yeah. I can't remember its name. I know I teach you things all the time, but there is a bird that looks like a little dragon.
Interesting. Well,
I'm pretty sure that's what that was.
I've never seen anything like that. Definitely interesting. I'm going to have to look it up. The Monterey Dragon is what it said. So before we get into our discussion, and Matt's going to teach me what he thinks about dragons, I have one last video. Let me...
it was totally this thing.
Oh, wow. What a creepy looking bird. Give me another view of it. Let me see what else, what other views they have of that thing. Oh, yeah. If I saw that in the wild, this is how little I know of this stuff. I'd be like, oh my God, it's a dragon.
The great-eared nightjar is what it's called.
The great-eared nightjar. See,
dude, I want one just for that fact. Things badass.
It's insane to me that these creatures, like, there's creatures that exist that I've never even heard of or seen, and if I saw one in the wild, I'd be like, what the is that? That's crazy.
Here you go. Here's one with its mouth wide open, like in the video.
Oh yeah, for sure. Wow, what a creepy bird. Yeah, what a creepy bird. That's part of the fun of the show is playing these videos. Now, I did find the most compelling dragon video I could possibly find. I want to play it. I'd like to see somebody try to debunk this one because even I had a problem debunking it. Let's check this one out.
Let's do it.
Real dragon catch on camera.
I had to. I'm sorry.
As soon as I saw you start cracking up, I was like,
I couldn't.
It's gonna be somebody in a costume or something. Just clearly,
there's a plethora of videos where it's like super scenic, and you're like, okay, let's see, wait for the dragon, and everybody has a dragon drawn on a piece of paper with like the screaming sound effects. It's hilarious. No dragon videos exist. I tried, but now is the point in the show where we can talk about dragons.
Yeah.
And did they exist? I believe it is possible. I don't know. The thing about dragons for me is I get locked onto the whole fire breathing thing. And I'm like, it's got to be fantasy. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, what's your tell me about dragons, Matt? You tell me your theory.
So, like, I know we talk a lot of hate on these Discovery Channel mockumentaries.
Oh shit.
But they did one about dragons. And what they did differently here was they delved and dived into the science of it, of what it would have took for these things to actually exist and be. And it was fascinating stuff because, like, they went into, like, air sacs that were within their body to help them stay in the air when they were flying, to help make them lighter. I can't remember how they went into the science of the fire, but they got into the science of how they actually made a natural fire breath, um, and stuff like that. It was really fascinating stuff. It makes you sad when you watch it. You're like, man, if only this was real. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, it starts out with they find a body preserved in ice, and
Of
this
course.
team starts, of course,
Yeah.
and this team starts going into like they bring in a scientific team to examine it and stuff. So I don't want to get too into it, but I mean, if you got Discovery Plus or something, or even it's probably even on YouTube, like if you look for it. But so what I'm gonna circle back on myself from the beginning of the show, and I believe dragons were. I mean, there could be something supernatural about them, but I really truly believe they're just misidentified remnants of dinosaurs.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I can't sit here about alternate dimensions and things like Skinwalker Ranch without saying, is it possible that the world as we know it is not as it seems, and there are portals that creatures, maybe Bigfoot, maybe these other cryptids that people are seeing that they swear they've seen? You got Mothman, you've got I mean, a host of the chupacabra, and it's said that the chupacabra has been found and discovered, and that it's like a coyote with mange. But you get these descriptions of a bloodsucker, and you got the Jersey Devil. There's all these different cryptids, so I have to be open-minded to the possibility of portals to other dimensions. It's crazy. I know it sounds nuts. It sounds absolutely batshit nuts, but I have to be open-minded to it. The other thing about dragons is the fact that ancient civilizations, have accounts of these creatures, these
Yeah.
reptile beings that had the capability of flight. It like I said earlier, it goes back to the whole pyramids being found in all sorts of different countries all over the world, built in similar fashions. We've talked about artifacts, Egyptian artifacts being found in the Grand Canyon, all these types of things. And you talk about dragons being in legend and folklore all over the world. And you have to wonder, is everybody on the same wavelength and they all just happen to come up with the same ideas? Same with the alien thing. You've got civilizations all over the world, ancient civilizations that all talk about beings that came from the sky and the heavens. There's something that we just don't know. And I have to question. And that's why I say that anything's possible, because, when you start talking about alternate realities and dimensions and parallel universes and things like that, you cannot shut the door on any of the crazy shit that you hear. Period.
I mean, I agree with Brian here. So like, what I'm saying is back in the day, especially like the reason I'm saying more of the European side of it, because that's the more of the culture where they talked about fighting dragons was European culture. Boasting was a huge deal for knights.
Yeah.
To where they would boast about great feats they will go do before they actually do them. So if they're doing that, and that was like a party thing to do, they would boast about what they're going to go do, and then they would have to go do something along those lines before the next party. So, right. So naturally, if you went out and killed some old sick dinosaur with your sword and your men on a horse, you would go back telling people that some bitch was breathing fire, was flying through the air, and you guys struck it down. You know what I mean? So like, because like the one video where they were talking about the hollow bone theory, dinosaurs have hollow bones, so like they're not So that's why for a long time they couldn't decide if the dinosaurs were warm-blooded, cold-blooded, or what. The running theory now is they were a warm-blooded creature covered in feathers that helped keep them warm instead of being cold-blooded like reptiles. So like the school of thought's completely changed on dinosaurs, even in our lifetime. Even from when Jurassic Park was first made. Uh, so like, so what we know has changed so much over time that like, uh, over time it just kind of became fairy tales that they just had to prove or disprove. So like I've said this many times, I believe mankind and dinosaurs interacted far more than we realize. Just given the fact of think about people that have did not have science as we know it today, like Brian was saying a second ago, and they saw a dinosaur. And keep in mind how much smaller these people were than we are now. You know what I mean? Like the average size back then was 5 foot or less.
Yeah.
Like we're massive compared to our ancestors. Um, so I mean, even a smaller dinosaur that somehow survived that species that survived that long would seem just ginormous. And if it's covered with feathers and has wings with a little bit of scale or hide, I'm going to call it a hide. I don't want to say scales. I'm going to call it
Sure.
a hide. A little bit of hide that's not feathery. Man, you would think, especially if it was a pterosaur and it was actually flying, you know?
100%. And you know, I agree with what Brian said as far as finding dinosaur bones back in the day. You know, even when we find them, like when we first discovered dinosaurs and dinosaur bones, we immediately started, you know, piecing to like filling in the puzzle, you know, ourselves when we only had a couple pieces. And
Yeah.
it would be very easy, you know, if somebody had discovered dinosaur bones back in the day or a pterosaur going, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? And then just making up a legend. And with dinosaurs, you know, I do believe dinosaurs existed. You know, there are some conspiracy theories that dinosaurs are fake. I haven't really looked into it too much. I think it has to do with flat Earth. um, but
Here we go.
right. But I can understand. I mean, if you're talking about dragons from, you know, stories of dragons from all over the earth, dinosaurs at one time, you know, we can assume lived all over the earth. We don't know what species of dinosaurs lived where. I mean, I guess we can, you know, they've kind of pontificated about that a little bit, but
They
you
have
know, there's
rough
no
ideas.
for sure. Yeah, they have no for sure evidence. And I am a firm believer that we lived amongst dinosaurs. How many or what species, I don't know, but I believe there's so many things that suggest that that was the case. And so much of our history has been, you know, washed away or hidden from us that it's hard to say what's real and what's not.
Well, I guarantee you, if we did coexist, which I believe we did, ancient Egypt had tame ones.
Oh, for sure. Humans would try to domesticate anything, dude.
Oh,
You know?
ancient Egypt paved the way on domestication.
Sure.
Like if they came across it and it was an animal, the only thing that's why like crocodiles are revered as gods to them because that was like the one thing one of the few animals they couldn't domesticate.
No, 100%.
But I mean, no, it's they paved the way on domestication, and so like, and there's even ancient Egyptian artwork that depicts saddled or cargo load laden dinosaurs.
Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff, and it blows my mind. But then, you know, I go back to saying, what if we hadn't discovered crocodiles or alligators yet, and people were saying, dude, I was in this river and I saw this giant lizard, and you know, and they're
Chris,
describing.
you didn't even know there's crocodiles in the United States. So I mean, I believe it.
It's like describe a crocodile to somebody who never knew about him, and even just describing a crocodile to somebody who does know about him, it sounds crazy.
Yeah,
you know, but we know they exist.
So what we got here is a 20-foot reptile that spends about 75% of its time in the water.
Yeah.
and it will literally rip you to pieces and swallow
Yeah.
you whole.
Uh, yeah, they can be up to 20 feet long. Just the idea of crocodiles even existing is insane. Gorillas, same thing. If you describe some of the animals that we know are 100% real on Earth that have been studied, if you describe those creatures, it sounds insane. So
Oh
when I
yeah,
hear, theories about dragons or Bigfoot or any other cryptid or undiscovered species, or when we hear about dinosaurs still possibly existing in a place as remote as the Congo, or in the jungles of South America, uh, I wouldn't be surprised if they discovered, hey, actually, you know what, pterosaurs still do exist in these remote areas. There's a small population of them. I would not be surprised at all if they discovered a dragon, if they discovered a dinosaur that was a huge lizard-like beast that flew and had wings. I would not be surprised. I'd be like,
right.
yeah, well, there's the answer to the dragon thing.
Well, I mean, it's like, look at our neighbors to the north, old Canada. 90% of like a huge chunk of their population actually lives more south of the American border. It's just the way the countries lay out. There's the bulk of their population's more south than the lower United States, like the upper United States. There are more. I'm trying to think of the right word to phrase this because it's like midnight where I'm yeah. So there are more Americans living north than there are Canadians, given the way the country lays out.
Yeah.
Because most of Canada, most of the major cities are like 50 miles from the border, and even then they're not densely populated.
Yeah, sure.
So there's all of that above them that's untouched. It's empty. There's nothing there but wildlife.
Yeah, I'm actually excited at this point in time because I'm like, what discoveries are going to be made in our lifetime, dude?
Oh yeah.
What kind of crazy stuff are they going to find? You never know. I would have never thought when I was a kid, if you would have told me, as it turns out, dinosaurs are feathered, I'd be like,
Yeah.
huh? No, not my world. In my world, they're giant, crazy looking, carnivorous beasts. You know what I mean? Now I'm picturing, T-Rex with colorful feathers, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I mean, it's definitely a fact. Because yeah, I know it's cold up there, but I'm just saying. But like, but I mean, yeah, at one point I heard like the craziest theory that the closest living relative to T-Rex is a chicken.
I heard that theory too.
And I was like, how would you even trace that to begin with? But
Yeah.
but no, like, did you see the new Jurassic Park movie yet?
Yes, I did.
So I can't think of the name because it's stupid long. But the long clawed dinosaur,
Yeah, that crazy thing. Yeah.
they've only found like 2 bones, and they built that.
So that's based on a real.
Yeah, yeah.
Really? Wow.
But they've only found like 2 bones, and they've built that. They came up with like, this is how this thing looked. I'm like, so you found more than 2 bones?
Wow.
So
see,
like,
that's my problem.
Like, there's never been a complete T-Rex found. Let me put that out there.
Yeah.
There's never been a complete T-Rex found. They just fill in the blanks, like you said, with a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So a T-Rex has gone from standing straight up and down and dragging its tail to slowly but surely they've got it where it's laid out like this. And it's gone anywhere from, because like they built a model, and if it was a lightweight dinosaur for its size, it could run pretty fast. But you have scientists that keep wanting to make them slow and cumbersome scavengers because they're with their short arms. There's no way they could have been a predator. I love the theories coming out that they've actually put the skeleton together wrong and the arms are backwards. because if you look at the arms, they actually share a very similar design to ostriches. Like if you look at a T-Rex arm and an ostrich arm, the skeleton view, and rotate the T-Rex arms, it's almost a perfect match for an ostrich wing. So a T-Rex could have had wings. It could have been flightless. It definitely would have been flightless given its size. But I mean, shit, it had wings. Ostriches have wings. They have pretty good sized wings, but they don't fly.
I would give anything to just take a ride in a time machine and just go observe what these things actually looked like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Could you
Oh, yeah.
imagine? Good God. When I think about dinosaurs roaming the earth, it kind of boggles my mind. You know what I mean? I'm like, that is insane. That supposedly before humans, there are these giant reptiles that ruled the earth. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not buying it 100%. I think humans, anytime humans are faced with a threat, we try to eliminate it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we lived amongst dinosaurs and decided, you know what, these things are getting out of hand, and just started murking them. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Just
dude.
started stacking bodies.
Yeah, and you know that's why I don't. You know, when I think of dragons, you know, obviously I think of fire breathing. You know, I really don't think of a Chinese dragon. I think of, you know, the movie Reign of Fire. You know, we talked about that.
Oh man, God,
what a good movie!
by far one of the coolest designs, and they went at it hard.
Yeah,
to have good science for it.
Yeah,
like they had the wingspans accurate for a creature that size. They went really hard to make sure that the joints and the shoulders and the placement of the wings were correct for that creature to be airborne. They studied, man, I watched the making of for that movie so many times. They studied bats. A lot of those wings were based off bats.
I had no idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's when you think about it, outside of birds, the bat is the animal that has the most dragon-like wing design.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Brian's in the chat. He says, great. First it's sparkle skin vampires, now bright feathery T-Rex. Why can't things just stay scary? I agree.
Hey, Brian, I'm going to put this out there. I don't give a shit if it comes out scaly, hide, or feathery. Something that fucking big trying to eat me is still going to scare me.
Yeah, you know, I really wish why do we got to mess around and go, okay, we think this is what it looked like? I'm like, if you don't know, don't try to guess, because then you're going to look like an asshole when you find more bones and you're like, okay, so it turns out, you know.
Well, at least paleontology is smart enough to be like, we messed up.
Yeah.
Like they've come out and said Brontosaurus wasn't a real dinosaur. It was a misidentified juvenile of another species. They've said the same thing about Triceratops too. I think they said it's a misidentified juvenile.
Oh, that pisses me off, dude. Those are two dinosaurs I like. Man.
So I mean, at least they're one of the few sciences that come out and be like, we were way wrong, and they'll adjust. But I mean, yeah, it's a crazy science. Like I wanted to be a paleontologist for a long time.
Could you imagine being a paleontologist? Like most of your career is just bullshitting. You know, you dig up a couple bones. Like,
oh man, I'd be so tickled pink just telling the stories. I'm like, there I was digging in the dirt, and it rose out of the ground, breathing fire. There was hell and brimstone in those dead cold eyes.
Oh man. Hey, maybe you know the answer to this. Was the Velociraptor a real dinosaur, or is that BS?
Yes. Nope, it was real.
Okay.
They were a lot smaller though. They're more the size of a turkey, and completely covered in feathers. Whereas the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park have more in common with, like, say, a Utah raptor.
Okay.
It was a much larger raptor. Yeah, no, Velociraptors they got scaled up and defeathered. So like, but yeah, no. Do you guys have Apple TV by chance?
No.
Okay, well, if you ever think about it, do the free preview and watch Prehistoric Planet.
Okay.
BBC got involved. David Attenborough narrates it, and it was done by the same folks that did Planet Earth. So what they did is they actually took all of the new findings and actually made a show, um, similar to Walking with Dinosaurs. It's like like 5 or 6 parts, where they cover the different zones like ocean, beach, forest, desert, and stuff like that. Man, it was wild. I watched it with my kiddo. It was some wild stuff. I highly recommend it.
Interesting. It's funny when you talk about like misidentification and like maybe over exaggeration and things, like you were talking about the knights and stuff. My wife told me this. She said that the Vikings, because my wife is Norwegian and a bunch of other stuff, and she's
Yeah.
heavily into the Viking stuff. And she told me that back in the day, these these scam artist Vikings, right? Aside from raping and pillaging villages, they also sold narwhal wings narwhal horns as unicorn horns. I don't
They
know why
sure
I
did.
went I don't know why I went with wings on that one.
Probably
But
'cause
they
we're talking
sold
about dragons.
yeah, probably they sold the friggin' horns as unicorn horns.
Yeah.
I thought
Yep.
that was insane. I was
They
like,
sure did, those rascals.
but I mean, yeah, I guess I would have I would have too. Like, check out this unicorn wing or this unicorn horn. That's I thought that was hilarious. I was like, of course the Vikings did.
Well, yeah. Do you know why the British hated the Vikings so much?
No, go ahead and tell me.
They bathed. They bathed once a week, and they groomed. So they were clean, and their women were naturally more attracted to the cleaner man.
The British were the clean ones.
No.
The Vikings were the clean ones?
Yep. Vikings
What?
had great grooming habits for back in the day.
Wow.
Like
That's
I said,
crazy.
they bathed once a week. They made sure to keep their hair combed and everything. So they
Really?
were the cleaner, better looking dude.
If you would have asked me who I thought did that, I would never think Vikings. I think
Vikings had a fantastic culture. I mean,
Interesting.
don't be wrong. They did some bad stuff, but they had a fantastic culture. But that was their culture, was to conquer. That was just who they were.
Sure. Man, what a crazy world we live in.
Oh, it's wild. Like the boats that they sailed in were basically balsa wood.
Really?
That's why they were so light, and they were able to pick them up and carry them.
Interesting. So were they not as tough as we all think they were? They're just carrying these light ass boats.
No, I mean, look, you gotta be pretty tough, and like I don't know how they sailed with balls that big, sailing in a boat made out of that light of a wood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man.
But no, they've actually discovered Viking encampments in these states that were established long before Columbus got here or anything. Yeah, they had a relationship with Native Americans.
Oh wow, I had no idea. Crazy. We might have to get into some. I know this is a paranormal show, but we might have to get into some history stuff. That it's all so interesting to me.
I feel like you're learning a lot about how my ADD brain has like just made me a plethora of knowledge.
No, it's amazing. I love it. I love it. It makes the show even more interesting.
But
here we are. We're supposed to be talking about dragons, and then we end up getting into Vikings, and I love this show.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It is. And on that note, dude, I know you're sick, and I don't want to keep you here too long. It's like 1:00 where you're at, or close to 1. It is 1:00. Jeez.
No, we're good. It's just now 12. It's just.
Oh, is it okay? All right. We try to keep it under 2 hours around here, just to have a fun conversation, and I think that was good. We actually had a lot of videos today. Well, we have 9 or 10. We won't count that last one. We had 9 videos we watched.
Yeah. No, that was good though. I was like, this was like, as soon as you started, you should have kept a stone cold face.
I tried, dude, but I just it made me laugh because I got fooled multiple times watching these videos because they're like real footage of a dragon, and I'm like, okay, and I watch it, and I'm like, all right, I'm like looking at the phone, and I'm like, all right, this is what's gonna happen here, and then it's always a piece of paper with a hand drawn dragon on it.
Speaking of that, I have to amend some knowledge I dropped
Oh boy.
And you were correct. It has. I didn't know. I just watched something about. I went back and was watching stuff on Komodo dragons, and they do have venom. It's new. It's a newer discovery, but they actually do have venom glands. But
Okay.
it's not like a poisonous venom. It's an anticoagulant venom
Oh.
to keep their prey from being able to heal. It keeps the wound open, keeps it bleeding.
Then they get infected.
And then they get infected.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, oh my god.
And hey, dragons do exist. The Komodo dragon. You know?
I'm not gonna lie. If you pulled up on an island and that fucking thing came at you,
Yeah. Man, we are so lucky that some creatures on this planet aren't bigger. You know what I mean?
in Australia there was a version of a monitor lizard that was like 30 feet long or something like that. They stood like
wouldn't doubt
6
it.
foot high at the shoulder and they're like 30 foot long. Like, it was insane.
That's the scariest shit. Like, could you imagine if a crab could grow up to 20 feet?
Did you know that crabs and lobsters don't stop growing? They just get
Excuse me?
too big. Yeah. Crustaceans like that, they don't quit growing. And they're actually immortal. What kills them is they finally get too big that it takes too much energy to molt their shell.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Talking Paranormal. My name's Chris Albrecht. That's Matt Monroe. And I learned multiple things today. Matt is a plethora of knowledge. It's hilarious the things that you know, dude. It really.
I don't know how. And the crazy part is, if you asked me where I learned it, I'd be like, I don't know. But Google it is probably true.
We're ending the show on crabs being almost immortal.
I mean, that's the science of it. They are practically immortal. The only thing that kills them is if they get ate or they get too big to molt and they lose the energy and then they get stuck and they die because they can't get out of their old shell and they're crushed.
Wow. I never knew that. I would have never guessed. I do love eating crab, and I kind of wish there were 20-foot crabs because then a crab leg wouldn't seem so minuscule.
Well, also, I mean, it probably wouldn't be as expensive because, I mean, one crab's providing like 10 tables worth of crab meat.
Even king crab legs, dude. Maybe it's just because I'm I don't know, a glutton. But every time even king crab, I'm like, God, I wish there was more meat on this thing. That's why I prefer lobster, because you get a nice fat lobster tail with a steak. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Even lobsters, could you imagine a 40-foot lobster? Jesus Christ. That'd be insane.
God. I think there's a science experiment going that they're helping one molt.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think they're trying to see how big they can get it.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, let's play with nature some more. Pretty soon they're gonna be like, we're gonna try to make the world's biggest mosquito. It's gonna be 10 feet long. Oh, that's nice.
Look, if they're gonna fuck with mosquitoes, they need to find a way to make them not happen. Because as far as I know, they actually don't provide a service to nature.
Okay, I was talking to, I think it was on the 4th of July. I was like, please, somebody tell me the point of mosquitoes and fleas. Please tell me where they fit in our system. Please. I have no idea how they do. They're just the most annoying things on this planet. I hate fleas and I hate mosquitoes.
To be completely honest, I think they're a population control agent.
A population control agent? I've never expected to hear that description of a flea. That's amazing.
The Black Plague?
Yeah, it was spread by fleas. You're right.
Yep. Wow. It wasn't spread by rats. It was spread by fleas off the rats.
The rats are like, we did nothing wrong. This is bullshit. we got a bad rap.
And then think about how many people died from malaria and yellow fever from mosquitoes.
Shit, they're the population control agents. My God. I never even thought about that. Yeah, you're probably right. That's just Mother Earth's way of saying, all right, here you go.
Like, here's these tiny, barely visible thing. You're fucked.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Never thought of that. Anyways, folks, thank you for joining us. We've gone an hour and a half. I think this is a good calling point. Matt and I got to get together and see what we're going to talk about on the next episode. No shortage of topics, that's for sure. It's just a matter of, okay, which one do we want to talk about next week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we just got to pick it.
Yep. So right on, folks. Thank you for listening. Sorry for being late, and I promise you, we will have a show every week, no matter what. Even if it's a short one, we will have a show. So thank you for watching, Matt. Anything you got to get off your chest before we get out of here?
T-Rexes were dragons. I'll die on that hill.
All right, with pink feathers. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Talking Paranormal. And remember, my new tagline is anything's possible.